Welcome back, Focus Learners. It's third term, week 10, and today we are jumping straight into a wild, fascinating period of history. We're looking at the intense events that define Nigeria's First Republic. We'll be examining four major political crises that shook the absolute foundation of the country between 1953 and 1963, ultimately paving the way for military rule. Get ready, because these events are exactly like falling dominoes, each one knocking into the next with massive consequences.
Here's what we're looking at today. We're going to trace these dominoes chronologically, starting with the Kano Riot of 1953, then the Eastern Region Constitutional Crisis, the Action Group Crisis of 1962, and finally the explosive 62-63 Census Crisis.
So it really makes you wonder, how does a new nation survive its growing pains when massive political ambitions collide? I mean, what happens when the actual foundations of a newly emerging country start cracking under all that pressure? Keep that in the back of your mind as we get into our first major event.
All right, part one, the Kano Riot of 1953 and the push for self-governance.
Things escalated so fast here. Back in April 1953, Chief Anthony Anaharo of the Action Group pushed a motion in the Central Legislature for self-government by 1956. But Sir Ahmadu Bello of the Northern People's Congress pushed back, saying Nigeria just wasn't ready yet. This sparked a massive, fundamental disagreement. Southern reps literally walked out, and crowds in Lagos actually booed the Northern delegates. So later, when an Action Group delegation went up to Kano in the north to explain their stance, it was seen as a total insult, like an invasion. The resulting clash, it was devastating. It turned into a full-blown riot where at least 36 people tragically lost their lives.
And you know, this wasn't just some isolated riot. It completely fractured the political trust between Northern and Southern leaders. It got so bad that the NPC actually drafted an 8-point program to just secede from Nigeria altogether. It was a massive wake-up call for the British administrators, proving the current system was breaking down, which directly triggered the 1953 London Constitutional Conference.
Moving on to part two, the Eastern Region Constitutional Crisis. Okay, this one is basically a bureaucratic comedy of errors, but with huge constitutional consequences. The NCNC party was dealing with a massive internal rift between its national president, Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe, and the Eastern Regional Premier, A.O. Ita. The party asked its regional ministers to resign, but get this, 6 of the 9 ministers just didn't want to. They quickly typed up letters of withdrawal instead, and because those withdrawal letters landed on the lieutenant governor's desk right before the resignation letters did, he ruled they hadn't validly resigned. The NCNC completely disagreed, a vote of no confidence was passed, and it caused a total spiral that ended with the entire Eastern House of Assembly being dissolved. Just total constitutional chaos.
Let's jump forward nearly a decade to part 3, the Action Group Crisis of 1962. Right at the center of this storm were two absolute political titans. You've got Chief Obafemi Awolowo. He had stepped down as Western Premier, hoping to gain federal power. After losing, he became the opposition leader while still chairing the Action Group Party. On the flip side, you have Chief S.L. Akintola, the new Western Premier. So the party chairman and the regional premier were completely at odds with each other, and Akintola's supporters were basically refusing to accept Awolowo's party ideology.
This clash was way more than just a personal beef. It was a massive, strategic divide. They were completely split on whether the Action Group should ally with the NPC or the NCNC on a national level. Plus, they deeply disagreed about the federal government carving out a brand new Midwestern region from their Western territory. The whole thing finally boiled over when the party tried to officially dismiss Akintola as both deputy leader and premier.
The fallout here was just disastrous. Law and order completely broke down in the West. The federal government had to step in and declare a state of emergency. Akintola broke off and formed a totally new party, the United Progressive Party. And in a crazy twist, Chief Awolowo was accused of treason and thrown in prison. Just like that, a major political powerhouse was effectively split right down the middle.
And that brings us to part 4, the 1962 to 1963 census crisis. In any democracy, population numbers equal power, which makes counting heads a fiercely contested event.
When it comes down to it, this whole particular crisis hinges on one number, 174. See, after the earlier 52 to 53 census, the northern region was allocated 174 out of 312 parliamentary seats. That meant the North had an absolute majority over the East, West, and Lagos combined. Naturally, the southern regions were incredibly eager to overturn that balance of power because they firmly believed those old numbers were inaccurate. Well, they ran a new census in May 1962, and the results were completely jaw-dropping. The numbers claimed the populations in both the East and West had skyrocketed by a massive 70% compared to the old numbers, while the North only grew by 30%. The shift was so drastic that officials deemed the data completely unreliable. They literally threw out and canceled the entire 1962 census.
So they do a recount in November 1963, and the tension is absolutely through the roof. The numbers come back in 1964, 29.8 million for the North and 12.8 million for the West. Both regions accepted those results, but the East, they were recorded at 12.4 million and they flat out rejected it. The Midwestern region and a bunch of other southern areas completely rejected it too, which even sparked violent protests in some places. This wasn't just a minor disagreement. It was a massive institutional failure to find any kind of consensus. The Eastern government actually took this all the way to the Supreme Court to get the results nullified, but the court dismissed it. And the craziest part? Despite all the violent protests and the deep, lingering distrust, those heavily disputed 1963 census figures stayed as the national reference point for the next 30 years. Absolutely wild.
Which leads us to the ultimate consequence. As our source material puts it, quote, "The crisis was one of the reasons the military took political power away from the civilian." Think about it. You stack up the Kano riots, a constitutional deadlock in the East, a major opposition leader locked up in the West, and a national census literally nobody could agree on. The civilian government looked so incredibly fragile. The combined weight of these four dominoes practically invited the military to step in, effectively ending Nigeria's first republic.
So, as we wrap up our Week 10 explainer, I want to leave you with this to really chew on. If administrative chaos, census disputes, and clashing egos can completely topple a republic, what does a newly emerging nation actually have to do to safeguard its future? Understanding this stuff isn't just about memorizing historical dates. It's about seeing the incredibly delicate balance you need to keep a democracy alive. Thanks for hanging out with me today, Focus Learners, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.